statements or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be confused with medical or legal advice. An appearance on this platform is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back to another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you're hanging out early, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, hit the red pill, no matter what platform you're on. That will sincerely help the show. First of all, I need to say thank you to a couple of viewers in the audience. Thank you to the Tuckers. Thank you to the Petties. Thank you to Lloyd and Diane from Hawaii. Just got a Christmas card from them. Aloha, they say. We hope you received this. Wishing you another coming year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Love, Lloyd and Diane. Thank you so much. And then also, I got a package from, let me see. I haven't opened this one. It's up. Atlas is King. Atlas is King says, warmest wishes. Zach, merry hearts, a home that's filled with joy and laughter too. These are the things that Christmas should bring to people as special as you. I am grateful for the dedication, hard work you bring to us like-minded people. Joy to you and your family. Atlas is King. P.S. John was sent the same shirt. All right, we'll open up the shirt on the air. All right. Oh, and Lewis as well. I forgot to thank Lewis as well. All right, you guys. So do me a favor. Sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn because we're going to get into it right about now. All right, good afternoon. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I have to tell you, I totally hurt my back earlier today. And what's really funny is that I actually had a dream about the chiropractor last night. And in that dream, I was like, you know, it's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to hurt my back, and then I'm going to actually need to go to the chiropractor. And wouldn't you know it, sure enough, that is exactly what happened. So, let's just see here. I am looking for some notes that I had because I had a couple of other things that I needed to say thank you for. Okay. Hang on just a second. So we do have a lot of things to talk about. And we will get there in just a moment. Let's see. Where the heck is it? Okay, well, I guess, hang on, where the heck is this? Okay, well, I suppose that we will have to, I'll have to look for these notes tomorrow, and I'll have to give the thanks tomorrow. I don't know what happened to this stuff. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I'm totally out of sorts because I hurt my back and I do not have what I wanted to have prepared for you prepared. So anyways, we'll get to it, and tomorrow we'll do the talking. So let me just try one more search here. Yeah, this is everything that I thought I was looking at previously. Okay. Okay. All right. Either way, let us just begin, first of all, by talking about the most recent event surrounding James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group. You might remember last week we talked about the NIH contractor, a guy by the name of Joseph Olmert. He had essentially torn pictures of President Trump and other members of the administration off the wall. He's not even like a real government employee. He's just a contractor. So he's got even less cachet, less sway than, say, a real federal employee would have. So pretty ballsy move for somebody whose contract could be ended at any time. Well, his contract has now officially been canceled. He was also admitted to ripping off pictures of RFK Jr. in addition to NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, in addition to President Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, this is something that you could be charged for. Here again is the admission
James O'Keefe standing in front of the National about distributing you
all this other stuff, and I look at him, I'm like, I did that. He was like, I had a feeling you were the one that did that. I was like, someone has to have balls around here? What do you mean? Like, someone has to, like, I don't know. And then we just start busting out laughing.
So is that like illegal or anything to do that?
Federal property.
Good riddance.
I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw photos there before.
So this is something he should be arrested for. I believe that if they hold up to their word, then he certainly will. There may likely be a criminal referral. We're going to be keeping an eye out for that. But this is not something that is acceptable. I don't care if it's Barack Hussein Obama that's president, if it's Joe Biden that's president, or if it's Donald Trump that's president. There is a measure of decorum. There is a level of respect that you must engage with, and I have not seen that from any of these people who have been caught on camera by James O'Keefe. Now, apparently there is another James O'Keefe expose, which is supposed to be coming out today. This time, it's another gay honeypot that was caught with James O'Keefe pretending to be a gay man on Grindr. And this guy, I guess, is a professor at Georgetown University. So considering the work of Georgetown University and their efforts to subvert American culture and engage in DEI practices, I can only imagine that this professor has admitted that there is something like that is still happening, despite the fact that the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice has demanded that all of that shut down. What's interesting is that the lawyer for this professor sent this cease and desist letter to James O'Keefe and the O'Keefe Media Group. And he said, "Dear Mr. O'Keefe, I'm writing to notify you that we represent the person in the video concerning an encounter that you recently had with him in Washington, D.C. It is our understanding that this individual recently agreed to meet you on a social basis upon your invitation to him. During the encounter, which we understand was secretly filmed and recorded without this individual's knowledge or consent, you two discussed with, he discussed with you personal issues to include issues concerning his sexual orientation, his work, career, and various political issues. This individual comments to you were not for publication, and had he known that you were filming and recording the encounter, he would not have agreed to meet or talk with you. To confirm, this person does not consent to your publicizing, posting, copying, or distributing the contents of the recording that you made during your encounter, or any communications with him prior to or subsequent to such encounter. We request you do not release it. The person also understands that you recently contacted one or more people with whom he works as a professor at Georgetown University. We request that you have no contact with any current or past employer, as such is likely to cause him significant and irreparable harm to his reputation and his current employment in relation to his future employment opportunities as a journalist." Wow. If a leftist gay man in D.C. is worried about what he said in private to someone like James O'Keefe, I can only imagine the depravity of what might have come out of this individual's mouth. So they are asking that James O'Keefe and O'Keefe Media Group return all copies of the recording that you made of this individual and give them to the person that they filmed. This is unheard of. I've heard of cease and desist letters where they ask that you stop talking about somebody or that you don't publish something that you plan to publish. But for them to request that they give everything to this individual, never heard of anything like that. What do you think? Do you think James O'Keefe is going to do that? I personally don't think that he's going to adhere to any of this. Freedom76, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subscriptions. I really do appreciate that. Now, also, it would appear that James O'Keefe did a sort of an impromptu, I guess, survey in the comments of the original tweet. And he had asked, hey, should we report on this or should we give all of these recordings over to the person that we recorded? And he said, well, it looks like the comments have it. We are definitely going to record it. It's supposed to come out today. James also posted this. How do the gay deep staters in D.C. not recognize me? My disguise is literally glasses and hairspray. Here he is sitting with this dude having dinner. I mean, it was ridiculous enough when James went in there with that crazy hairpiece. But now that he's going in there just wearing his average everyday outfits and they're not able to tell who he is. I mean, these people are either dumb, they're desperate, or I guess maybe they just don't watch anything outside of their own spheres of influence. It's pretty funny. All right, now, this is a brand new Christmas post from the official White House account. What's funny is that they juxtapose it beginning with a clip from last year's White House account. And of course, they have their own little voiceover. And Dr. Jebra Fauché says, who is running the official White House TikTok account? It's Barron, isn't it? If it is Barron, obviously, I think that would be hilarious. Take a look.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave me
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. I mean, where the fuck should I really even start? I got hoes that I'm keeping in the dark. I got my niggas across the street living large. Thinking back to the fact that they dead.
So it goes from super gay to totally based. But the song, the voiceover, the total failure of singing the song is just hilarious. What a juxtaposition, right? I mean, like, to see what the White House was doing before, the sort of like Showtime, like jazz hands shit that they were posting. And now, of course, it's just like straight class with Melania looking like a goddess, basically, standing in front of a real Christmas tree with real Christmas ornaments and an actual commitment to celebrating the holiday season. Man, it is so cool. All right, now look at this garbage right here. Couldn't believe this. A Democrat was just sworn in Ohio. His name is Gerald Dixon, and this is for his second term on the Whitehall, Ohio City Council. This swearing-in ceremony happened just yesterday, and it was only hours after he had been released from custody on his own recognizance because he was arrested on child sex abuse charges. Now, Dixon is innocent until proven guilty. And, of course, he denies the charges. But he's being arrested for the abuse of a child, all right? Generally speaking, especially if you're a public figure like this, they're not just going to come and arrest you, right? They're going to do an investigation, and there must be something for them to believe that he has truly committed the crime that he was arrested of. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bothering to prosecute him. Now, Dixon is 64. He has been a Democrat since 1980. He won this second term. It's a nonpartisan city council seat. It's the first ward seat. The election was back in November. He actually got like 70% of the vote, so he's overwhelmingly popular. Whitehall, I guess, is a suburb of Columbus. But we've got a report from the local Columbus news station, which shows him early in the day in jail at his arraignment, and then later in the day being sworn in. Maybe they'll know a little bit more about what the actual circumstances of the crime are.
We start tonight with breaking news. You're looking live at the Whitehall City Council meeting where right now Gerald Dixon, who won re-election, is being sworn in after being arrested and accused of sex crimes against minors.
Yeah, this is, as you're looking at, Whitehall City Councilman Gerald Dixon, as we said, charged with gross sexual imposition and compelling prostitution. A live look on your right there. He was supposed to be sworn in tonight, and he is being sworn in. Right hand to God, right there, as you see it on your screen there. He has been reelected and now being sworn in again.
10 TV's Carly Dion is at that meeting tonight, and she just spoke with Dixon. He told her he still plans to be sworn in, as he's doing right now. We do have a crew there, and we'll let you know what happens.
Well, you would think that someone in this position would perhaps step down or maybe, walk away from their position. This is not just one instance. This is multiple instances that he has been charged with sexually abusing multiple boys. This has been happening allegedly since the 1990s, and it has happened since he has taken the oath of office. Now, he was arrested initially, as they said, December 8th in Whitehall. He's been accused of abusing not one, not two, but at least 8 boys since 1996. December 9th was the date that Franklin County Municipal Court judge released Dixon from the Franklin County Jail on his own recognizance. He is obviously deemed not a threat to flee because he apparently really wants to remain on the city council. And here he is. Now he has been reelected and sworn in for another 4-year term. These are felony counts of gross sexual imposition and, like they said, compelling prostitution. This guy has already spent years, decades, grooming underage victims, and this felony arrest is as a result of allegations that came to the police's attentions in late 2020. So it's been 5 years. 5 years since the allegations came forward. The investigations have been going on for the last 2 years. Now, the chief of police, Mike Crispin, is the one who is commenting on this. He says the advice is pretty overwhelming. And this started way before he was on the city council. I'm not sure if he was aware that we were looking at him, but certainly we were looking at him before he ever became a council member. With at least 8 victims having come forward, the police said they often exhibited signs and symptoms of sexual victimization, both mentally and physically. And some of them really did not want to share their full experiences. Now, he has been on the city council since 2021. These felony charges of gross sexual imposition and compelling prostitution are certainly going to be enough to get him off the city council if he is convicted, and is being accused of requesting that victims perform these explicit acts, and he would pay them. They are not just regular kids. There is at least one of these kids who is cognitively impaired. Okay, one child who is disabled. May even be more. I don't know. But it also is not just in Ohio. This is something that I think the feds should get involved in because it spreads into New York and Michigan. So the Whitehall police say that they have reached out to the FBI. When they searched his home, of course, they took his electronic devices. They found explicit material. They found explicit writings, as well as drawings of young boys. Detectives also described it as somewhat of a hoarder house. A hoarder house. Now, the chief of police has also done a press conference on it. So there's a lot more to watch here. But this guy is a native of Whitehall. He went to high school there. He went to New York for a successful acting career, it says. He then went to Hollywood before returning home and purchasing his home on Donny Street, where he now resides. Now, he no longer acts, but he just plays a politician on TV, apparently. And he spends a lot of his time giving back to the community. That's his official biography right there. Public service. He's eager to bring his passion for Whitehall, planning and sociology to the council table. He's got a passion for debate and good conversation, and he welcomes his numbers to reach out and discuss all things Whitehall. In his spare time, Councilor Dixon tends to home improvements, his cat Alex's well-being, visiting friends, reading, gardening, movies, writing, painting, paying bills, and apparently molesting boys. They forgot that one, though. They left that out. Anyways, I am eagerly anticipating seeing how this case goes. If the chief is telling the truth, and I have no reason to believe that he isn't telling the truth, then I hope that he gets a quick trial, and I hope that we can go ahead and get him out of there. But I have to wonder, what do the citizens of Whitehall think after they overwhelmingly reelected him and now come to find out he's been molesting children all across America this entire time? Terrible, terrible stuff.
All right, now on the same theme here, apparently there is a social media app or a social app for children. It's often been called the Tinder for kids. That should probably tell you everything that you need to know. It's called Wizz, W-I-Z-Z. If we have any parents in the audience, you might want to check your phones of your children and make sure that they are not using this app. This is an app that has over 16 million users. And apparently what's been happening is that predators have been using it so that they can gain access to children. Now, multiple arrests have been made across the United States, all of them involving predators using this app. With this app, they've been grooming and assaulting teens that they meet on the platform. And according to a report urging congressional action by Haley McNamara, the executive director and chief strategy officer, and Lily Morick, the communications and campaign specialist at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, they are demanding that something be done about this. It's marketed, I guess, as a fun way for teens aged 13 and up to make new friends. Wizz is like Tinder because it mimics the same design. You swipe right, you swipe left, like on the adult dating apps, and it allows users to connect with strangers, and then they can chat and they can potentially meet up. Now, from the reports from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, as I said, Wizz has over 16 million users, including nearly 4 million daily active users. Many of them are underage teens in big cities like New York. Apparently, it's very popular in major metropolitan areas. This also just happens to be where a lot of illegals and sex offenders live, and Democrats, I might add. Teens also as young as 12, though, are on the app swiping through profiles, and they feature provocative photos like shirtless selfies, girls in sports bras, using this app to find friends, but generally speaking, it's to hook up. One 16-year-old Manhattan high school student told the New York Post in October, it's like Tinder for kids. It's marketed as a wholesome app when it's actually not. And of course, as they are wont to do, sexual predators are using this app to find children. There was one instance where a 12-year-old girl was supposed to be meeting up with a 14-year-old boy, only to discover that the boy was an adult male, and guess what? He sexually assaulted her. Another instance, an 8th grader was sexually abused by a 27-year-old man, then found out she was only one of several underage girls who this same man had groomed through Wizz. Another instance of an 11-year-old girl being sexually assaulted by an active-duty U.S. Marine she met there on Wizz. And this is just from the last year, and this app has been around for a hot minute. Now, there is a group called CyberTip CA in Canada. They have been receiving tips and reports about children using Wizz since 2021. There have been at least 180 individual reports. Many of them are tied to sextortion scams like the kinds that we've talked about when it comes to 764 and 09A, these satanic accelerationist pedophile groups. And what they'll do, of course, just as 764 does, is they will get compromising pictures of children, they will blackmail them, and then they will extract more nudes out of them, or they will extract money. Predators often build false trust with these kids. They pretend to have the same sorts of interests and likes, maybe, pretend that they live in the same area. But what they'll do is they will target a child. They will change their profile to more closely suit the same interests that these kids have. And then they will meet up with them and they will groom them and abuse them. Now, predators often build false trust by faking shared interests or locations. And this app has at times also been temporarily yanked from apps like the Google or the Apple Play Store because of the concerns of sextortion. Only eventually it has come back to both, and at each time it's only had like a 12+ rating on it. Now that means that kids under 12 should not be using it, but there's nothing to stop them from using it. Now, the parent company of Wizz is a corporation based in Paris, and they say they want to keep kids safe. They do have biometric age verification via face scans and profile consistency checks to match users with age-appropriate matches.
But because of how easy it is to fake these things nowadays, experts and advocates say that these tools are bypassed pretty easily. And many online safety groups have demonstrated just how simple it is for adults who want to gain access to kids. Other apps similar to this that we've seen be abused in the past are apps like Kik, which is an anonymous app messenger that is used by children and teens, and predators also absolutely love it because of the kids that are hanging out there. So there is a solution that's currently pending before Congress. It's called the Kids Online Safety Act. It's a bipartisan bill, and it establishes a duty of care for online platforms, which may be likely to be accessed by children. So what this means is that tech companies have to take reasonable care to design those platforms with the safety of children in mind. It's a pretty basic concept, but if you're going to be putting an app out there that children are likely to use, there should be some sorts of safeguards to make sure that predators don't have easy access to them. Here's an example, like Subaru. Okay, I drive Subarus. If Subaru is going to release a new car, they have to make sure that the brakes work. They got to make sure that the airbags are going to deploy. They have to make sure that their safety mechanisms are up to snuff. Because if they put a car out there and the safety mechanisms don't work, the brakes don't work when you push the pedal and then somebody dies, they're obviously going to be to blame for it. Or they can be held liable if the people are injured. So it should be the same way for big tech. I totally believe that. So they have been working on this for quite some time, but it is Congress, and they don't appear to be interested in getting much done. So it's a shame, but I think that this is something that they should be focusing on because children are at risk. There's really no other way to put it. Okay, and next we have a new release in the Epstein files. A federal judge in New York on Wednesday has ordered the release of Jeffrey Epstein documents related to his 2019 sex trafficking arrest case. Now, as you know, we've had the Epstein Transparency Act passed in both houses of Congress, and that has decreed that all of this grand jury information be released. We've recently had the grand jury information for Ghislaine Maxwell released. We had the original 2008 grand jury information be released. Now, of course, the order to release them has been handed down, but the releases themselves have not come yet. That will be coming in the next coming days. Now, I believe each of them had 10 days from the day that they were actually passed. In this most recent circumstance, the judge in this case, who was the same judge who refused to release this information previously, said since July 6th of 2025, there has been extensive public interest in the basis for the memorandum's conclusions, while the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation continue to adhere to the conclusions reached in the memorandum. Transparency to the American public is of the utmost importance to this administration. And given the public interest in the investigative work conducted by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the DOJ moves the court to unseal the underlying grand jury transcripts in United States versus Epstein, subject to the appropriate redactions of victim-related and other personal identifying information. So the judges who had initially declined to release this in this case was Judge Richard Berman. But now the grand jury secrecy no longer holds true. So the judge has come to the same conclusion as these other judges did in these other cases. And very shortly, we are going to have a major smorgasbord of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and so much more documentation so that we'll have plenty to go over. All right. Now, next, we also have a clip from Chuck Schumer. Now, normally I wouldn't play clips from Chuck Schumer, but this is in relation to this supposed double tap strike. Chuck Schumer and other Democrats in the Senate have furiously been demanding that the Department of War and Pete Hegseth give them some answers. So they were asked to come to a classified briefing, to a classified briefing to learn more. And essentially they went in and they got nothing more than the knowledge and assurance that what was hit was in fact narco-terrorists and these people deserve to die. So let's take a listen.
Now, finally, this afternoon, Secretaries Hegseth and Rubio and top officials will brief the Gang of Eight, and I'll be there. I plan to confront Secretary Hegseth on exactly what the hell is going on in the Caribbean. I plan to demand Secretary Hegseth give the total, unedited videos of what happened in the September 2nd boat strikes. Trump originally agreed to do this, but now they're afraid. What's Hegseth hiding? And second, I will demand of Rubio and Hegseth what the hell is going on in the Caribbean and in Venezuela. What are their plans? How far do they plan to go?
Well, it was just announced today that the United States has captured an oil tanker that was part of the embargo that came out of Venezuela. So now we've got a brand new ship with a whole bunch of oil, in addition to all of the drugs that we've shot out of the Caribbean Sea. So I tend to believe that we're just going to continue exactly as we have been. Now, let me say thank you very, very much to my friend Lauren over at the Car Coach Reports. She says, Merry Christmas, and thank you for your fantastic reporting. Hope your back feels better soon. Thank you so much. I really messed it up, and I couldn't believe it. Like, I woke up thinking about the chiropractor, and then I just bent over wrong, and boom, there you go. It is off to the races. Thank you so much, Lauren. Really appreciate that generous donation.
Trump has already talked about Venezuela waters and even going attacking Venezuela on land. How?
There's a difference though here, Chucky. We're not going to attack Venezuela. We're going to attack the drug cartels in Venezuela, or perhaps Mexico, or perhaps Honduras, or wherever they might be. Anywhere that drug traffickers are producing poison to bring into the United States has a responsibility to defend itself. We're not going to attack the governments. We're not going to attack the people. We're going to attack criminals before they have the opportunity to kill more American citizens. Not once have I heard Chuck Schumer or any of these other Democrats talking about the hundreds of thousands of American lives that are lost every single year to the scourge of drug and addiction and people ODing. It's disgusting. You would think that they would want to keep as many people voting as possible. Oh, wait, I forgot. They do. They don't need anyone to be alive to continue to cast ballots. In fact, I bet you they actually prefer that those people are dead, because then nobody's going to ask a question if they die and then suddenly start voting Democrat.
How far do they intend to go? And when Trump says these crazy things, does he really mean them? And will he drag America into an endless war? It's about getting truth for the American people. The American people are entitled to see the unedited videos. Last week, Trump said he'd have no problem releasing the videos. Then yesterday, he walked back his statement, claiming he said it was fake news. You know, this guy's amazing. He said it. It's on the air. Millions saw it. And now he says it's fake news, even though he said it. It means he's a fake. Let's be clear. The only way to bring clarity is to release the full unedited tapes. That's why the NDA included a provision requiring the Pentagon to hand the tapes over. If they don't, Pete Hegseth's travel budget gets slashed 25%. And this proposal had the support.
So did you hear that? I didn't even talk about this yesterday. What they've snuck into the NDAA is that unless Pete Hegseth agrees to show them this video, show everyone this video, even though they've shown a couple of people the video, it's not good enough. They want everybody to see it. He is losing it. He seems to be totally losing it, because I think, I guarantee you, Chuck Schumer is losing big money because this cocaine is not being brought into the United States. It's throwing all of their plans into total disarray. If they don't show the video, then they're going to cut the Pentagon's travel budget by 25%. Big deal. Like, does anybody know, like, how much the Pentagon already receives? It's, like, besides Medicare, it's the other, like, single greatest expenditure we have in the United States budget. So 25%, yeah, I don't even care. I don't think that they care either, because so far they haven't blinked.
Support of Democrats and Republicans, including Wicker, including Republicans in the House and Senate. It shows you that both parties are united that these videos ought to be released so the American people can see them. Congress is united in demanding transparency. I strongly support this provision, fought to keep it in the bill. Trump, Hegseth, Rubio must do the right thing, and they all must release the tapes and tell the American people the truth the people deserve to hear.
Now, if Chuck Schumer and anybody in Congress spent as much time on issues that were truly pressing to the American people, addressing things that, you know, would make life, the quality of life better for us, as they have this one issue, which is a total dead end, then I think that we may be able to get some good things done. Now, the good news is here, there's actually a cartel-run social media account. I believe this is on Instagram. Anyways, it's the cartel themselves, and they're actually posting videos of the boats that they're making to ship these drugs into the United States. And you can tell from looking at them, it's basically the exact same setup that we've seen exploding in the Caribbean Sea. So these are what are allegedly fishermen's boats in the Caribbean. But you can see in the video, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outboard motors. Now, if we look at how expensive these outboard motors are, the cheapest one would be like $35,000, could be as high as $50,000. So let's just say that at the median price, you've got 6 outboard Suzuki motors right here at $50,000. That's $300,000. Your average Venezuelan fisherman coming from a socialist nation does not have $300,000 to put together a rig like this. And look at this. We know it's a cocaine boat because they're loading bales of cocaine onto the boat as we're watching. And this is a song about drug traffickers. I don't speak Spanish, but I have heard there's like this whole subculture of drug trafficker bands that make music. Now look at this. They've got a fleet of them. You've got the 3 boats that were right there, then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You probably got 10 boats here, right here.
Tal vez si tengan razón, pero ¿quién va a comprobarles si yo fuera?
Oh, look at that one. That's even got Chinese lettering on it right there. Isn't that interesting? And they've got some type of sophisticated radar on the boat. I don't think that's to determine how many bass are under the waves. Cocaine. Lots of cocaine. All right. Now, also, we have a new update in the saga from Alyssa Slotkin, CIA Senator Alyssa Slotkin. She is now claiming that the reason they made this video, because this is one of the things we asked, what was the reasoning behind it? I mean, how did this become a thing? What was the genesis of this video? Well, allegedly, she is now saying it's because there were actual members of the military who were concerned and approached them. Instead of going to their JAG officers or their superiors and asking about the legality of these orders, as the people like Alyssa Slotkin in this video suggested that they do, that's an interesting thing. Anyways, so she is now saying that members of the military thought that it was okay to contact Alyssa Slotkin and the Democrats because they were concerned about the viability and legality of these orders. So she says, certainly since we made the video, people have been finding their way to us just to say, hey, we've been expressing this angst amongst ourselves. This was not coming out of nowhere. Now, they also have suggested that because people took an oath to uphold the Constitution, they must refuse illegal orders. But as they say in the video, if they believe these orders to be illegal, there is a path to follow. There's a chain of command. You are supposed to go to certain people. I personally don't believe that anyone in the military reached out to CIA agent Alyssa Slotkin and said, hey, would you do us a favor? Would you just make a video along with like 5 other members of the Congress who also have prior military careers, and put it out, and then, we can share it on social media for clicks and views, and then people will feel good about contacting their superiors only after we've contacted you. We just need something to rally behind. I call bullshit. I absolutely call bullshit. There's no way this happened. Jim Kyle says, are these bastards given immunity in the whole building? I thought it was just the floor. No, it's actually, I guess it's everywhere. They can just go break the law everywhere, apparently. Let's see. Surter says, the boat fly, no flags, so they are not protected by any country. I can't remember the UN maritime law, but they can be legally stopped or shot out of the water. Yes, this is well established. They are in international water, and they are not identifying themselves to be a part of any nation in particular. Now, remember yesterday when Jasmine Crockett, the low IQ Jasmine Crockett, who is being forced out of a job because she's been redistricted. She's now going to be running for Senate. Well, earlier today, a reporter asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson what he thought about Jasmine Crockett running for Senate. And he literally smiles and starts rubbing his hands together. This is like the funniest meme of the day. Take a look.
Yeah. Can I get your thoughts on Jasmine Crockett's run for Senate? What does it say about the state of the Democrats?
I'm absolutely delighted that Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate in Texas. I think it's one of the greatest things that's happened to the Republican Party in a long, long time. She is the face of the Democratic Party. She and Mamdani. Good luck with that. I want her to have the largest, loudest microphone that she can every single day, and we look forward to having that election down there. We are going to elect another Republican senator in Texas. Texas is a red state. The people of Texas are common sense Americans, and what Jasmine is trying to sell will not be purchased by the folks of Texas. That is my prediction. Yes. Thank you. Thanks so much.
That is my prediction. Now, oh my gosh. She was also interviewed by Jake Tapper, and she had said previously in an interview that Hispanic people who vote for President Trump have a slave mentality, like former slaves who loved their slave owners or something like that. It was very disjointed. I didn't really follow the quote itself, but that was the sentiment. Now, when she was confronted about that statement, because there's like over 1 million Hispanics in the state of Texas who voted for President Trump in the last election, and perhaps even more now with things that have happened. But Jake Tapper was like, are you saying that all the Hispanics who voted for Trump, who would need to vote for you if you're going to win, if they have a slave mentality? And she was like, no, that's not what I said. No, that's fake news. She was confronted with her own quote, and she couldn't back it up. It was pretty funny. All right, now, on top of that, there is now a new report which is coming out exposing the way Jasmine Crockett has been spending her money. So listen to this. This new congressional map is going to be in place. And once it happens, Jasmine Crockett is going to be out of his seat, okay? This is the only reason that she's got to be running for Senate. Now, I think most people are thinking this is awesome. The Democrats, of course, do not like it because they're going to lose power in the state of Texas. And she's going to be out of a job, and she's no longer going to be able to burn through taxpayer money in the way that she has. So if in this instance, it has been reported that Jasmine Crockett has been spending money like a drunk sailor. Like this. Let's see. According to a recent report, the Dallas County Clerk's website shows that Jasmine Crockett, who, again, makes $174,000 a year in her position as a congresswoman, is currently behind on her payments for her condominium. I guess that there's a condo association, probably something like a homeowners association. She owes them over $3,000 in back dues. She also has an unpaid lien notice that is over a year old. As of this report coming out on December 3rd, she's in default on her obligation for payment of assessments, and she has failed and refused and continues to fail and refuse, despite the demand upon her to pay the association assessments and any related charges that have been levied against the property. There's a real distinct chance she might lose her place. Here's the thing, guys. I am considering going to the Dallas County Clerk's website and seeing if I can purchase the loan. Or excuse me, if I can purchase the lien. Because if I purchase the lien, then I can levy more fees on Jasmine Crockett. And I can levy whatever fees I want. I could maybe even end up owning her condo and having her evicted. How funny would that be? If I become Jasmine Crockett's landlord and then she owes me a bunch of money and I have her evicted, I could sue her. Anyways, I think that would be a lot of fun. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll tell you what happens when I go to the Dallas County Clerk's website. All right. Now, also, the Federal Election Commission has displayed that she has spent nearly $75,000 of donor money, not on re-election issues, but on luxury hotels and transportation. And she's been paying for her own private security every time she goes to a new city across the United States. This $75,000 is just for 2025. Her filings show luxury hotels, transportation expenses in Martha's Vineyard. Maybe she's visiting Barack and Big Mike. She's visited Chicago, New York City, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Even though she is a representative for Texas's 30th district, and that includes Dallas, I don't think she's made any trips to Dallas or anywhere else in the state of Texas. It seems she's traveling everywhere but. She also spent about $50,000 on security alone, which is pretty rich because, of course, of the way that she talks about policing and, of course, keeping Americans safe. It's always hypocritical. Jasmine Crockett and the Democrats always want to be safe themselves, but they want to make sure that you personally are not safe. So this defund the police movement seeks to actually, this is I believe, a quote from Jasmine Crockett in 2021 about the defund the police movement. We seek to actually bring about healing and finally invest in our communities to make them safer, addressing the root causes of crime and by allowing the professionals to do their respective jobs. Defund is about finally being smart on crime. Defund is about lightening the load for our offices of all things they didn't sign up for. Defund is about finally being fiscally responsible when it comes to policing in this state. So fiscally responsible, does that include paying for your own private security? Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that is the case. All right, you guys, real quick before we continue, I need to tell you guys about the first sponsor of today's program. That's going to be my friends over there at Brightcore. Did you guys know that U.S. life expectancy peaked at 78 years in 2014? And global life expectancy is declining for the first time in 30 years because people are aging and their health is deteriorating faster than ever before. This is due to a lot of things: toxins in the air, chemicals in our food and soil, microplastics in our blood, brains in our organs. So many factors externally that are new to us and that people have just not yet grappled with entirely. What most people don't know is that we can actually fight aging and disease on a cellular level. So scientists have discovered that kimchi actually slows the aging process of human cells and it protects your DNA from damage, which can lead to chronic disease and cancer. So the power of nature can outweigh the power of pharmaceuticals without those nasty side effects. And you now get all of the benefits of kimchi in a simple capsule with Kimchi 1. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains plus antioxidants and enzymes because as we age, we become more susceptible to microbial threats. With Kimchi 1, it's a natural antimicrobial. It helps your body fight off harmful bacteria, fungi, viruses, and even parasites, while all at the same time boosting immunity and energy. Now, best of all, Kimchi 1 is 100% made in the USA. It's all natural. It's non-GMO. It supports your gut, protects your cells, and you're going to feel younger every day with Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. Now, you can today get 25% off your order when you use the code REDPILL at mybrightcore.com/REDPILL. Or for the best deal, call Brightcore at 383-5996. You'll get up to 50% off, free shipping, and you'll even get that free bottle of vitamin D3 with your order. Once again, that number is 888-383-5996. Detox your body, rebuild your gut, and take your health into your own hands starting today. Now, you can go to the link in the description of this video, and that is just below the video itself. Thank you very much once again to Brightcore for being a sponsor of the program. Okay, now what else is Jasmine Crockett spending money on? Everything but being a congressman for the state of Texas. Jasmine Crockett is spending money like a drunk sailor, and if it wasn't for this new race for Senate, Jasmine Crockett would probably end up in the poorhouse. She's already shown her disdain for the legal system. I don't know that she would get a job in public service ever again. To be honest, they would probably end up hiring her at any number of left-wing nonprofits. She would probably get right in, and she would immediately get a much bigger salary than what she has right now. So good riddance to bad rubbish. We'll see you on the other side of the rainbow, and I look forward to a time in the very near future where she is no longer going to be in public service. All right, let me say thank you to Sean Joe for the can and the cookie. Thank you to FilterDog1, who sent me a video from AG Pam Bondi. Okay, well, let's take a look at this before we continue with the next story. Okay, so, it's a video of the tanker seizure. Today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, and the U.S. Coast Guard, with support from the Department of War, executed a seizure warrant for a crude oil tanker that was to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. For multiple years, the oil tanker had been sanctioned by the U.S. due to its involvement in illicit oil shipping networks supporting foreign terrorist organizations. This seizure, completed off the coast of Venezuela, was conducted safely and securely, and our investigation alongside the DHS to prevent the transport of sanctioned oil continues. Let me make this bigger. All right, apparently there's no audio, but look at that. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I just want to say this is the last thing you want to see when you're out on the open ocean. DHS and Homeland Security investigations rappelling down onto your tanker from a Black Hawk. Blue 32, Blue 32. Clear, clear. Get in there. Open the door. Show me your hands. I bet you that's a lot of oil. All right. All right. Thank you also to No Thanks Joe, who says the cookie, the request for film back from O'Keefe's date sounds a lot like Comey's buddy Dan Richmond's attorneys asking the DOJ to give all of his emails back and the government in the form of the FBI director's case, but very similar. God bless. God bless you too, sir. Filter Dog, thank you for the can. And No Thanks Joe says, thank you so much, Lisa and Zach. I'm sorry to hear that you're suffering from back issues. Wish you the best. God bless. Yeah, I almost didn't do the show. I have to be really honest with you. I was laying down. I got everything ready, and then I went and laid down for a period of time, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, because just like sitting in that chair and standing here was, I'm the captain now. It was tough, but I put on one of those, it's like an icy hot patch. So anyways, did you know oil has DNA markers? Did I know that oil has DNA markers? No, I did not know that oil had DNA markers. That's a new concept for me. Hold on just a second. Oil has DNA markers. Maybe that's what the, a robust DNA isolation protocol from filtered, no, that's olive oil. I see plant oils. I mean, I understand because those are coming from biological sources, but oil is a geological process. I only see references to DNA on plant-based oils. So if you want to send me something on that, I want to update. I was running around pretending I was dropping onto the ship. That's funny. I love it. I love it. Thank you to Matt1776. He says, please eat this now. It's a Santa cookie. Nom, nom, nom. Thank you, my friend. Sean Joe, thank you for the can as well. The minerals, not DNA from one. Oh, okay. So mineral, I can understand that they would be they would have like a mineral profile for oil, because I know that based upon the chemical composition of the oil, they can tell like what part of the world it came from. I don't know. Either way, Joan, send me whatever you got. All right, now we are still fighting to deploy the National Guard in Los Angeles. Another federal judge, Judge Charles Breyer, has just declared the deployment of National Guard in Los Angeles illegal. He's ordered the troops returned to state control under California Governor Gavin Newsom. So, once again, the National Guard has been deployed in California for quite some time, since the summer. Now, while most troops were withdrawn, there was an extension that kept around approximately 300 California National Guard members that was still under federal control. That was meant to last until February, and then there would be about 100 of those remaining in the city of Los Angeles, and then there were 200 more that were redirected to Oregon. So California officials, which include Governor Gavin Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta, who has his own legal troubles, we'll talk about that probably in another show, they filed a lawsuit challenging the federalization of these state troops. Even though it's, again, established history and precedent, the president has the power to federalize National Guard troops. But of course, Breyer sided with the state in a 35-page opinion. He argued that Trump lacked the statutory authority under laws that allow such deployments only in cases of invasion, rebellion, or when the president cannot execute federal laws with regular forces. I would say that the regular forces in Los Angeles and in Portland, Oregon, both are refusing to execute the law. We already have also had a declaration of invasion that's been declared because of the Antifa terrorists and the transnational criminal organizations in the form of narco-terrorists. So the claim of an invasion is a mission. Excuse me. It's an issue of semantics at this point, because Breyer does not believe we've been invaded. Now, the judge emphasized there was no current demonstration of impaired law enforcement. The founders designed our government to be a system of checks and balances. Defendants, however, make clear the only check they want is a blank one. Without a demonstration that the president's ability to execute the law is currently being impeded at the time of deployment, he lacks adequate grounds for federalization. Now, this is probably not going to end here, just as every other fight in the court has. The White House has already fired back. Now, the judge has actually paused his ruling until Monday, which gives the DOJ time to appeal. And this, of course, is going to escalate it to higher courts. Now, the White House said the president exercised his lawful authority to deploy National Guard troops to support federal officers and assets following violent riots that local leaders like Newsom refused to stop, White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson said in a statement. The White House also said, "We look forward to ultimate victory on this issue." I believe they will get that ultimate victory, and all of these challenges will eventually be made moot in the end. But it's going to take time to get there. All right. Now, I said thank you to Jim already. Thank you, Jim. All right. Now, we also have an announcement coming from RFK Jr. and HHS. We, as part of the MAHA agenda, Making America Healthy Again, a large part of that had been specified to be the introduction of regenerative farming agriculture, which means fewer pesticides, healthier soil, more nutrient-dense foods, food that is going to be overall healthier for Americans to eat. So HHS is redirecting $700 million into regenerative farming to help get farmers off of pesticides, off of seeds that are produced by Monsanto, so that farmers can grow food, do it themselves, and no longer have to depend on chemicals and all of this stuff that's been poisoning us over generations and generations. So take a listen to RFK making this announcement. This is something that I'm really passionate about because I try to eat only natural food. It's impossible in today's world. Now, I could go to an organic market and only buy organic food, but the truth of the matter is I don't have enough money to exclusively eat organic food. There are times where I simply have to buy based upon cost, and that means that I know I am putting poison in my body, and I don't like it.
This is the fulfillment of a promise that we made in the Maha Report, which we released 2.5 months ago, has 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to a healthier America. And among those promises, among the recommendations of the report, was the promise to make it easier for farmers in this country, to give them an off-ramp. Farmers who are dependent on inputs, on chemical and fertilizer inputs, to give them an off-ramp where they can transition to a model that emphasizes soil health, and with soil health comes nutrient density. And without coercion, through voluntary action, to give
Hazel Kitty, pasture-raised butter is one of the things that I definitely always make sure that I have. I can't eat like regular old butter from cows that are raised in on concrete pads. It does not taste good. It is much, much lower in fat content, much lower in nutrients, and much higher in water. So you're actually getting less for your money, even though it's cheaper. So yeah, I eat pasture-raised butter like exclusively, and it's one of the reasons I probably have higher cholesterol. I also want to be very clear. I don't believe that my cholesterol is a problem. Somebody, after I talked about it with Brad last week, they were like, Zach, don't take statins. And I was like, you must have missed the part where I said that statins are not good for you. I will never take statins, and I am not worried about lowering my cholesterol. That level that they have set for people is arbitrarily set by the pharmaceutical companies that produce statins. If you take statins, the statin cannot discern between cholesterol that makes up the neurons in your brain and the cholesterol that is in your arteries. I said that to my doctor. That's one of the reasons why I refused to take statins. And he was like, well, I guess I can understand that.
Them good incentives to do well by doing good for themselves, for our children, and for the country. I'm very, very happy to have as a partner in this endeavor Brooke Rollins. I've been working on farm issues for 30 years, and this is the first USDA secretary who I believe is really committed to giving us, we already have the healthiest food supply in the world, to making a food supply that's even healthier, that's going to sustain, again, a transition to a much healthier America for our children. I also want to thank these farmers who are inspiring, and they're inspiring to the farm community, to all of us who care about good health, about sustainability on the farm, about soil, about water retention, about soil retention, about the health of farmers themselves who are concerned about the health of their children from too many chemicals on the land. And they have given us models. Some of these are 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers, and they've provided us models for how to do this and how to do it in a way that vertically integrates, that preserves profit margins, and that dramatically reduces inputs.
Yeah, butter is what I cook everything with. If I don't cook with butter, I'm cooking with coconut oil or olive oil. Definitely don't cook with seed oils. Don't use seed oils at all. Now, if you're at all hazy on what regenerative farming is, this is Blake Alexander. He's the owner of the first certified regenerative organic dairy farm in the United States, and he worked on this initiative with HHS and the USDA. Blake is actually somebody that I believe initially was potentially going to be the director of USDA instead of Brooke Rollins, and a lot of people were pissed off when he wasn't chosen. But the fact that he's still involved with the administration, I think, is a really good thing.
Regenerative farming is simply farming in harmony with nature, with the way that God intended or our maker intended. It's paying attention to the biology and building nutrient density in the soil, the plants, the crops that our animals eat. For us, it's chickens and cows, and then ultimately it's the milk and the nutrient density for food for humans and making our planet a better place. In harmony with nature means that we're cleaning up the water supply on our farm. We're cleaning up the erosion that may or may not happen with both soil and water. And we're cleaning up the air. And so everybody benefits, all the wildlife, the ecosystem benefits, and ultimately we're sequestering carbon and literally doing the right thing and moving forward in harmony with nature again, making our planet a healthier place for everyone. Regenerative
Beautiful. I mean, you can't get much simpler than that. Just make it the way God intended. And instead of stripping the soil, instead of forcing your animals into artificial conditions, I saw somebody mention pork lard. Pork lard is something that I've wanted to experiment with for quite some time, but I can't find any around me. I can't find a quality source of organic pork that has been farmed in an open air. Free-range pigs. I've had meat from free-range pigs, and let me tell you, it is miles away from the pork that you're going to get from the big factory farms. The same with beef. I can find some free-range beef around here. We've got a farm, free-range chicken, but no free-range pork. I've seen bacon at select times, but haven't seen a source of free-range lard, and that would be the way that I would want to use it. A lot of people using tallow now, free-range tallow, healthy tallow, and obviously, what am I talking about? Soft disclosure. You can get soft disclosure. A lot of other sources of skincare products that are using it. A couple of new sponsors about to come on here with the show. Be talking about them in the future. But anything that is as close to nature as God intended, that's what I try to use. All right, now, we're going to switch gears, and we're going to talk a little bit about the immigration situation because you simply can't get away from it in today's world. There are so many ways that Joe Biden's decisions have quite literally altered the structure of America and the way things look right now. Real quick before we do, though, I have a brief message from another sponsor of the program, my friends over at Neutronics Labs. This is for men specifically. If you are looking for the ultimate edge in life, you want to get back into the gym, this stack is for you. It's even backed by boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. The science behind this stack is simple, but it's powerful. Let me explain why Man's Edge and 300K are the perfect 1-2 punch. 300K supports your IGF-1 levels, which are critical for muscle recovery, strength, and endurance, and you pair that with Man's Edge testosterone booster, and you're looking at improved stamina, vitality, and overall energy. This is the science. It's got IGF-1. This is like your body's repair team. It helps to fix and grow muscles after you work out so you can feel stronger and recover faster. And Neutronics Labs has the strongest and purest natural IGF-1 that's available in the world. Man's Edge also adds an extra boost by supporting your testosterone levels, giving you the drive, the energy, and the focus to crush the day. Together, they're the ultimate fuel for performing your best. So if you're ready to feel like a champion again, check out Neutronics Labs right now. They are proudly veteran-owned, and they've been helping people for over 25 years fight back against aging and reclaim your vitality. Now, switching back here. Here is a recently released memo, which was written by Joe Biden's own administration. And it was a warning to Joe Biden and the people around him making decisions that the proposals that he was putting into place to essentially allow this unrestrained illegal alien migration coming into the United States of America, that it was going to cause chaos. Now, he was warned by top advisors that these plans he had at the U.S. border were going to destroy the country, but he, and maybe more specifically, the people around him actually making the decisions, they ignored this memo, and this team doled out the advice to Biden, not after he became president, but while he was still campaigning against President Trump back in 2020. This is significant because it goes to show that who you listen to makes a big difference as to what happens in the country. The potential surge he was planning could create chaos and a humanitarian crisis, overwhelm processing capacities, and imperil the agenda of the new administration. Well, the only thing that these people who wrote this advice forgot
is that Joe Biden and the people surrounding him, their agenda was actually the destruction of the United States of America. They wanted to surge as many illegal aliens in as possible. They wanted to destroy the U.S. job market. Then they would go ahead and give these people Social Security numbers, jobs, and the ability to vote. And they would use that as a baseline to ensure Democratic supremacy, deep state supremacy for all time. They warned also that given this approach that Biden was suggesting, which included the backlog that was already in place from the Trump administration and everything that had happened with the COVID-19 pandemic, it was truly a recipe for disaster. So some of the people on his team offered up steps that he could take to thwart an influx of illegal migrants, which included ways to reject immigration claims more easily, potentially holding asylum seekers in reception centers until their cases could be heard, and maybe they could be transferred to other countries. But as we know, all of that advice was ignored. Within just a few months in office, the policy advisors that were surrounding Joe Biden were allowing this surge of border crossings to take place, as well as a total disruption of the system. They were not interested in reviewing any claims. Nobody was vetted. They were simply allowed to come in, and rather than crack down on the problems that were so obvious at the border, they just opened them wide. Now, this is coming from a report from Customs and Border Patrol, and Mike Johnson actually had tweeted about it. Another month of record calm at the border. We've got daily crossings down 95% from the Biden era. 30,367 encounters, which is lower than the historic low we had back in October. And there have been 0 catch and releases for the last 7 straight months. This is truly security in action. And it's so funny to me, again, when people look at the way that our country is going and the just tremendous changes that have taken place, and they ask, well, why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't this happened? Well, geez, oh, Pete's, they had essentially flushed the entire nation down the toilet. They handed President Trump a pile of dog shit stuck to the end of a stick, and they said, run a marathon. At the end of this marathon is the saving grace of America, okay? And President Trump said, you know what? Hand me that stick and put another dog turd on the end, and I'm not even going to drop it. And along the way, he did as much as he possibly could, and he continues to do as much as he can every single day. We have had incredible gains that have taken place in this country. So many things that have been exposed. So many different instances of people being brought to justice. Maybe not the justice that you necessarily want yet, but I believe that that is coming. Now, yes, and they lit it on fire. They lit the dog shit on fire. Okay. Now, President Trump, very recently, we talked about this. He put out that new national security strategy for the United States. Europe erupted. They said the United States is no longer an ally of us here in Europe. And President Trump yesterday in the Oval Office was asked about it. And he said, well, you know what? Europe is no longer an ally of the United States. And of course, this is because of the things that have been happening there. Now, this is a statement that came from President Trump's recent interview with Politico in the Oval Office. So what President Trump argues in this interview is that Europe is no longer a pillar of Western civilization. It's more like a continent that's drifting into weakness and irrelevance. And it's happening because they are choosing this to happen. President Trump said the leaders of Europe have become paralyzed by political correctness. They are no longer able to defend their own borders. They can't take responsibility for catastrophic crises. Their policies that they have created have given rise to the problems that we see. And let me just also mention that the reason they want the United States to remain involved in NATO is because they can no longer take care of their own nations. These are, many of them, socialist nations who are just giving free handouts to illegal aliens they allow to come into their countries. They are destroying their own culture. They are just pushing out all of the people who would do great things. They are shutting down people's freedoms and liberties. They are taking their political enemies and locking them up. And they are raising up the rapists and the murderers and the drug traffickers. And then they are looking at the United States with their hand out, demanding that we pay fealty to them. Well, guess what? That shit is not happening. President Trump said that the ceaseless waves of illegal, unvetted migrants, most of whom are military-age men from cultures alien to the West, arriving on this continent are the direct result of these so-called leaders who won't send anyone back. Why? Because they fear being called bigots and racists. On Ukraine, President Trump also noted the same out-of-touch globalist political class that is lecturing him about democracy. They can't even persuade Zelensky and Kiev to hold elections. President Trump has now demanded a plan to hold elections within 3 months. He said, Zelensky, you got to get out of here. What is it right here? Holiday. President Trump warns he has until Christmas to accept the peace deal. If you don't accept the peace deal by Christmas, then you're on your own, bub. Not only are we letting Europe go, not only are we no longer going to support these socialist nations, we're not even going to bother trying to help you anymore. And guess what's going to happen? Russia is going to crush them. There is simply no way around it. They've already taken the whole eastern portion of the country. They've got one little stronghold left, and those guys are completely surrounded. There's no way for the Ukrainians to get them any supplies. Now, he's also said that you got to hold an election in Ukraine within the next 3 months. It may take the election of a new president in Zelensky's place to accept this peace deal, at which point, you know, that new president is also going to be handed a sharp stick with a dog turd on the end, being told that he's got to run to the finish line. I wouldn't want to be that guy. But either way, Europe is in a really bad position. The collapse of Europe is no longer theoretical, but it's measurable in real time, POTUS said. You've got rising crime, societies that are deeply socially fractured, economies and welfare systems that are under immense pressure because of this uncontrolled mass immigration. He said European globalist elites are to blame because they care more about virtue signaling than they care about their own national survival. He has openly questioned how a nation like Ukraine, led by a despotic leader like Zelensky, can claim democratic legitimacy while indefinitely postponing a presidential vote. It was supposed to happen years ago. He also argued Ukrainian officials are using the war to avoid accountability, something that Europe also does not want to confront. President Trump has asked for an accounting. He wants to have an audit of all of the money that we've sent there. We can take a look at the money Europe has sent there as well. And it certainly doesn't help that everybody that surrounds Zelensky keeps getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Millions of dollars they've siphoned out of the money that we, the American taxpayer, have sent. We are done. We do not want to support this garbage anymore. Trump argued Ukrainian officials using this war are refusing to admit what they've done. He added that the conflict predated his presidency by years, despite attempts by EU leaders to pin the situation on Washington. Additionally, the president criticized Europe's roles in the peace talks, saying that EU leaders effectively talk too much while offering no realistic plan to end the war. He also emphasized that if Europe wants endless war, they are free to keep fighting it, which, again, dovetails with the idea that we'll sell you weapons, but we are no longer going to fight your battles for us. We do not want to get dragged into this garbage anymore. And he pointed out something highly prescient, something I can't believe that nobody in Europe has caught on to yet. If they hate Putin so much, then why do they keep allowing Putin to profit from the war? The only person who's benefiting is Russia. Okay, Russia may have all these sanctions on them, but like their country is large, just like the United States. They are pretty much insulated from all of the bullshit happening. Okay, so Europe doesn't want to do business with them anymore. Well, guess what? They've still been buying their oil. They've still been buying their gas. Even though you can't get certain products in Russia, it means that you're only getting Russian products that are produced by Russian companies, which employ Russian people, which, of course, supports the Russian economy. Russia is doing really, really well, despite the fact that they've been at war for the last several years. Europe, on the other hand, is divided. They don't have the ability to produce their own energy. They are also indecisive because they can't ever come to an agreement on anything, because you've got all of these little fiefdoms of people arguing with each other about who has more respect for the economy economy, the environment, or who's got more respect for illegal alien invaders coming in and destroying their cultures. This continent and their entrenched political class refuse to admit the problems that they have created. In President Trump's view, Moscow is exploiting a vacuum that's been left by leaders who are too timid to defend their own interests. They might stand up every now and then and say, if Russia does not stop doing A, B, or C, we will go to war with them. And Putin says, guess what? We've got much bigger guns than you. Our country is much larger. It's going to be very difficult, I think, to only take out this tiny little country in the middle of a bunch of other countries. But their saving grace is Article 5 of NATO. And they're not going to be able to fall back on that when the United States says, guess what, guys? Enjoy your war. We are not taking part in it. Now, Putin, of course, benefiting from this stuff that's happening, is only going to lead to a stronger Russia, which is allegedly exactly the opposite of what they want. Now, even though President Trump may have had some harsh words, he said he maintains a cordial and even friendly relationship with many European heads of state. Obviously, Viktor Orban, the Poles, he's got great relationships with those guys. He's got a great relationship with Russia, too. He clarified that he can distinguish between strong leaders and those who are simply keeping the seat warm. He also noted that European governments remain committed to border security, specifically, as I just mentioned, Hungary and Poland. Those nations understand what sovereignty means, and that by controlling your sovereignty, you control who enters your country. By contrast, you've got nations like Germany, Sweden, other Western European states who have essentially surrendered to mass immigration. They've lost cultural cohesion. They are no longer high-trust societies. This at one time made them strong. Now their trust has essentially given them invaders who rape their women and children. He warned that if these trends continue, some countries will no longer be viable. He also argued that Europe's predicament is a cautionary tale for Americans who are eager to avoid the same fate. I love that he is saying this because it's something we've been talking about for years. He said the United States must reject the globalist ideology that hollowed out Europe before it corrodes America in the same way. To a large degree, it's done a lot of damage over here, but it is not too late. Now, the critique that President Trump has put forward in this interview obviously aligns very thoroughly with the new national security strategy. That casts off decades of polite diplomatic language. The document frames America's role not as the caretaker of Europe, but as a nation reclaiming its own interests. I can't tell you how long I've said, if we can't take care of ourselves and our own people, we can't take care of anybody else. So President Trump said Washington will no longer be guilt-tripped into subsidizing policies that Europe won't enforce or defend on its own soil. And he added that it's likely, to the great dismay of Euro-globalists, that the old transatlantic model is a relic that is no longer suited to the world as it exists today. But in this emerging world order, President Trump said nations must be strong enough to secure their own borders, choose their own interests, and defend their civilization without apology. Europe, he said, must rediscover that principle, or it will watch itself fade. Now, take a look at this. President Trump last night, I believe he was speaking in Pennsylvania, and he made mention essentially of what he's doing to stop that here in the United States, essentially with ending third world immigration. Take a listen.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did.
Wasn't me.
Remember I said that to the senators, they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries? Right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
I'm the captain now. They are essentially the best pirates on planet Earth in the modern age. Now, what's also funny is that European leaders were not happy about that interview that President Trump gave. So after this new security strategy came out and President Trump did the interview with Politico, it's pretty much very clear exactly where he stands, how little regard he has for these so-called Euro-globalist leaders. And most people in the administration are on the same page with him. Whatever their suicidal globalist strategy be, whether it's mass migration, global warming, carbon credits, the notions of gender and race and all that stuff, President Trump and the administration are standing firmly in the breach to stop that lunacy. So in Europe, the establishment have now chosen their player to criticize President Trump and to stand up to President Trump in the wake of this harsh assessment on the rampant decline that Europe has been seeing for the last several decades. Now, Politico reported on this. Oh, what's funny is President Trump. So Europe is complaining, but President Trump has just been chosen as the most powerful person in Europe. He's more powerful than any of the Euro globalists because the United States is a much better country. We have much more power, much more wealth. We have much more sway on the international geopolitical scene. So top EU officials tried to set the record straight Tuesday after President Trump denounced them as a decaying group of countries ruled by weak leaders. I think they're weak, President Trump said, referring to the continent's presidents and prime ministers, adding, I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do. So the response was the funny part. Here is that response. Trump must respect us, this man says. I was elected. I don't even know who this guy is, but it doesn't matter because Trump doesn't have to respect him if he doesn't want to. What does this guy do for the United States of America? Absolutely nothing. You're just going to stand there and bitch at us? You don't like the mean words big bad President Trump said about you? Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
We are allies from with United.
This is the European Council president. The European Council, I don't think that any citizens of Europe actually elect these people.
States. And allies must act as allies. That means that we should not interfere in the political, internal life of our countries.
Well, on that note, let me just say that during the last election, and even since in subsequent elections, there have been reports of European nations sending their people here, essentially stumping for Democrats. That sure seems to me like they're getting involved in the political fray of our countries. And what about the $140 million fine they just levied against an American tech company, an X, saying that the blue check marks are somehow, I guess, fraudulent or something like that? I don't know. I don't know. But I think this guy's full of shit.
We respect the choice of Americans, and they need to respect the democratic choice of our citizens. When the Irish people choose Micheál to be Prime Minister, President Trump must respect this. When all the leaders elect me President of the European Council, President Trump must respect this.
When the European leaders, okay, so the leaders elected him as the president of the European Council. Now, the European Council is basically what tells all the European countries what they have to do. So then the leaders that the people elect are then told by this unelected group what the people have to adhere to. And the people then look at their leaders and say, why are you doing this to us? And then the European leaders say, well, it's not us, it's the European Council. They're telling us what we have to do.
As we respect that the American citizens elected him President of the United States. It's like this that allies behave between each other.
Maybe we must accept. Maybe we must accept what Europe does, but we don't necessarily have to respect it, especially if it's obvious that what is happening in Europe is bad for Europe. And it's also bad for the rest of the world because what happens over there ends up feeding over to here. And then, of course, you have European countries telling us what we must do in terms of climate change and carbon credits and all of that garbage. Take a look at this. We also have information now, a report from the Washington Post, that Homeland Security has just signed a new contract with Boeing for a brand new fleet of 737s. These are big planes that are going to be used by DHS exclusively to deport people back to their home countries. Now, the one thing that the Washington Post doesn't mention, it is a massive contract with Boeing, yes, and they position it as something that is just going to cost the American people money. But Tricia McLaughlin says somehow Washington Post forgot to include anywhere in this story that this new initiative will actually save the U.S. taxpayer $279 million. I guess they don't want the public to know that. These planes are going to allow ICE to operate more effectively, conduct more deportations using more efficient flight patterns. President Trump and Secretary Noem are committed to quickly and effectively getting criminal illegal aliens out of the country. Washington Post can cry more about it, and they may not respect it, but they sure as hell have to accept it. Now, housing and urban development. Last week I told you there's a new snitch line that you can call. If you live in subsidized housing and you see that crimes are being committed, drugs, prostitution, child trafficking, organized theft, any of those things, you can call 1-800-347-3735. I'm going to say that again. There may be people in the audience who are living in Section 8 housing. 1-800-347-3735. This will be an anonymous call to the federal government, to the Housing and Urban Development. You can report crimes to them, and then they will go investigate, and they won't need you to identify yourself. So Housing and Urban Development posted a new Franklin the Turtle meme, a classic Franklin story. Franklin reports illegals in public housing. Oh, I absolutely love that everybody is on this Franklin meme kick because it's so funny. My daughter used to read Franklin books when she was little. Now, we also have a story coming from Davidson County. Davidson County is in an area that Andy Ogles represents. This has to do with a horrific story that we reported on quite some time ago. There was a Somali illegal alien by the name of Mohammed. He was arrested for sexually assaulting an unconscious woman on the steps of a church in Nashville's Woodbine neighborhood last August. Now, rather than addressing the problem of Mohammed being free on the streets to rape an unconscious woman on the steps of a church, the judges of Davidson County have just launched a full-scale PR panic. They're issuing formal letters and a public statement because Andy Ogles called out the court's catastrophic failure that instead of locking this guy up led to the horrific rape and then the death. That is the other part. That's the kicker. This guy, Mohammed, raped an unconscious woman to death on the steps of a church in the middle of Nashville. This was a crime committed by a dangerous migrant criminal. He had been released more than a dozen times on the watch of the judges of Davidson County. They should have apologized to the victim, to the victim's family, but instead of taking any responsibility for setting this criminal, illegal alien, just monster free, or even acknowledging the consequences of open borders policies and this flagrant judicial policy to simply ignore the law and let certain people get away with heinous crimes. The judges are now attacking Congressman Ogles, and they are demanding heightened security at the courthouse. The complaint is because Ogles posted this story, posted the truth, and he warned people living in Tennessee that we are at war with the woke officials like these judges who are soft on crime because their extremism is literally leading to the murder of American citizens. The rape and murder of American citizens. This story is one of the most grotesque that I have ever had to report on. Ogles has asserted that the suspect had been taken into custody more than a dozen times, but every single one of the cases where he was arrested, it was dismissed by the very judges that he called out and that are now essentially crying because they have had their bare asses shown to the world. Now, here is what Andy actually posted. Meet Mohammed A. Muhammad. He was recently caught allegedly raping a woman on the steps of a church on Nolensville Road in Nashville. He is a Somali migrant led in by Obama. Not only has this man been arrested over a dozen times, but in every case, he has been let go. Let's see what else he says. We're talking drugs, indecent exposure, criminal trespass, and obviously rape leading to death. But every single judge and prosecutor who let him off the hook, big surprise, was a Democrat. As long as local liberals are running things in Middle Tennessee, we are at war. The state should impeach all of the judges, send the National Guard to Nashville. Look at that, 14 prior charges, 11 dismissed by judges, and 3 dropped by the DA. Here is one of those judges, Judge Linda Jones. She dismissed a driver's license charge in 2015. You've also got Judge Robin Kimbrough Hayes, another Democrat, dismissed public intoxication in 2023. Judge Aaron Holt, also a Democrat, led off on public intoxication in 2023. Judge Jim Todd, Democrat, dismissed a case of public indecency in 2025. Judge Rachel Bell, she's a Rainbow Coalition member and a awardee of the Outstanding Service Award at the Tennessee Celebration of International something or others. Judge Rachel Bell, another Democrat, dismissed criminal trespassing at the DA's request in 2025. Judge Melissa Blackburn dismissed 3 separate criminal trespassing cases in 2025. This man never should have been free, never should have been out on the streets. And Andy Ogles is not the enemy. Andy Ogles is not the problem. The problem are these judges. Now, in their official statement, the General Sessions Court judges accused Ogles of inciting violence and argued that his criticism of their decisions is dangerous rhetoric. In the statement itself, the judges of Davidson County General Sessions Court today announced that they have directed Justice A.A. Birch courthouse security to heighten security measures following remarks by Congressman Andy Ogles that appeared intended to incite violence against elected officials in Davidson County. Over the weekend, Congressman Ogles posted on social media that we are at war with elected officials in Middle Tennessee and included photographs of several Davidson County General Court Sessions judges. We stand united in condemning any language or actions that target judges. What about actions that allow unconscious women to be raped and murdered on the steps of a church? What about that? What about that? How about that?
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
Now, in light of the numerous acts of political violence witnessed in recent years, they also forget to mention they are largely committed by the left. The statements made by Mr. Ogles are unacceptable. His choice to employ rhetoric invoking violence, even for political grandstanding, carries real and dangerous consequences. Our foremost responsibility is to ensure that courthouse employees and every member of the public entering the Birch building are safe and can access the justice system without fear of becoming casualties in what Mr. Ogles has described as a war on elected officials. I thought that the role of the judges was to equally enforce the law without prejudice. I mean, that's what I've always thought judges were supposed to do. I know it doesn't freaking happen like that, guys. I'm not naive, but like, what else is a judge supposed to do? The judge is supposed to make a determination about the law, and then they're supposed to hand down a sentence based upon the presentation of a case by the prosecution and what happens with the defense of the accused. Anyone interpreting his inflammatory remarks as a call to action would be gravely mistaken. In addition to increased security vigilance, meaning we're going to spend more money to make sure our asses are covered at the Birch complex, the judges of the Davidson County General Sessions Courts have formally requested the assistance of Governor Bill Lee to help ensure the public's continued confidence in their safety. Additionally, Kyle P. Sowell, who is the court administrator at the Davidson County General Sessions Court, sent a letter to Governor Bill Lee's office requesting that the state take immediate steps to ensure the safety and security of the public in and around the Justice A.A. Birch Courthouse. Well, what I'm more concerned about is the safety of the public outside of the damn courthouse, because it seems like they don't care about the people who are breaking the law. I mean, you know who the victims of these crimes are? Well, they are the members of the public. According to the letter, Congressman Ogle's irresponsible use of the phrase, "we are at war," accompanied by the posting of individual photographs of General Sessions Court judges. Again, those judges' photographs are public domain. They're available online. Places these judges and, importantly, courthouse staff and the general public conducting business within the Birch building at heightened risk. As you are aware, incidents of political violence across the United States have increased at an alarming rate in recent years. The reckless use of violent rhetoric, such as that employed by Mr. Ogles, can embolden the most extreme elements and lead to tragic consequences. On behalf of the courthouse personnel who serve diligently every day to ensure the fair administration of justice, or lack thereof, and on behalf of the members of the public who deserve the assurance that they may safely access their public institutions without fear or intimidation, we urge the state to take appropriate action to counter the dangerous and inflammatory rhetoric issued by Mr. Ogles. Tennessee must not become the site of the next preventable tragedy. It already is the next preventable tragedy. You just had a Mohammed, illegal alien from freaking Somalia, rape and kill a woman on the steps of a church. I don't know how many times you can say that. There's really no spin on that. That was a preventable tragedy. In a blistering statement, Ogles accused the judges of prioritizing their public image over the lives of citizens. Woke Nashville judge update. Instead of apologizing to the family of that young woman who was raped to death, instead of apologizing to the people of Nashville, these judges have the gall to publicly complain about my oversight and call it dangerous rhetoric. A woman was raped and is now dead because of woke policies. And those on the Davidson County General Sessions Court who let off a dangerous migrant criminal more than 12 times. These judges are asking Governor Lee to give them heightened security because they feel threatened by my comments. Where were these judges when she was being raped? Where were they when she lay dying? Do they care at all about the safety of my constituents? Doubtful. Yeah, that's the real crux of this issue right here. All right. Now, I am definitely going to get a strike on YouTube for this, but I can't play this video without also playing the audio. So ICE has just put out a new video about their operations in Minnesota. Take a listen and enjoy. I'm going to have to refresh. I hate this copyright crap that came out after Napster and Greedy Musicians. Yeah. I mean, I played, it was less than 1 minute of the song, and I even provided transformative content to it by singing along and, of course, by including my video. ICE, thank you very much for the work you're doing. All right, now, I didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday, but Florida is following in the footsteps of Texas, because now both Florida and Texas have given state-level designations of international terror organizations to the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations. This move highlights alleged ties to Hamas and other covert Islamist networks. On November 18th, that's when Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued his executive proclamation labeling Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as foreign terror organizations under the Texas Penal Code. And CARE Texas chapters have already sued Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton, claiming violations of the 5th, 1st, and 14th Amendments. So great, we're going to get discovery. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a similar executive order, did it on the 9th, which was yesterday, also designating Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as terrorist entities. And he cited protections from Hamas-linked groups, and he also invited lawsuits to expose their ties. So CARE Florida has also announced plans to sue DeSantis, describing the order as another unconstitutional political stunt. Now, let's talk a little bit about the history of these organizations. Muslim Brotherhood was founded in 1928 in Egypt by a man by the name of Hassan al-Banna. It's a Sunni Islamist group promoting Sharia law through political and social means. They have a Palestinian arm, which is Hamas. Now, Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas have both being designated as terrorist groups since 1990. Well, I'm sorry, not Muslim Brotherhood. Now they are, but Hamas has been designated a terrorist group since 1997. Hamas is also being funded by the deep state government of Israel for many years as well. Now, in Egypt in 2013, Saudi Arabia in 2014, the UAE and Bahrain in 2014, and Austria in 2021 have all designated Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Germany, France, and Britain have expressed concerns using words like extremism, but it doesn't look like they plan to ban or designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terror organization. And most recently, Jordan, on the 23rd of April, 2025, did declare both membership of the organization and promotion of its ideology as illegal. On November 24th of this year, that's when President Trump signed his executive order designating specific Muslim Brotherhood chapters in Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt as foreign terrorist organizations, and specifically designated global terrorists. The order directs the Secretaries of State and Treasury to submit reports on whether additional chapters also warrant similar designations, initiating a federal process that could lead to broader bans. Why don't they just do it across the board? I'd be good with that. Now, no official Muslim Brotherhood branch currently operates within the United States, within Texas, or in Florida. In 2007 and 2008, the Holy Land Foundation trial in Dallas, Texas, revealed alleged networks that had been operating since the 1960s. In 1991, Muslim Brotherhood memorandum outlined a civilian jihadist process to undermine Western society and establish Islamic governance. They listed 29 affiliated groups, which included the Muslim Students Association, the North American Islamic Trust, and the Islamic Society of North America. Let's get those included. Now, these are tied to a 1988 Palestine committee supporting Hamas. HLF in Richardson, Texas, was convicted of sending $12.4 million to Hamas. Leaders like Ghassan Alashi, who is also the CARE founder in Texas, got a 65-year sentence. CARE was founded in 1994 by ex-Islamic Association for Palestine members, and they operate in Texas, in Dallas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. They've been there since 2001. They're also down here in Florida, in Miami, Tampa, and Orlando, and they've been here for 24 years. They focus, of course, on the promotion of Islam. Now, the FBI has conducted investigations into CARE following the 2007-2008 Holy Land Foundation trial, where CARE was named an unindicted co-conspirator due to evidence which linked their founders to these Hamas support networks. However, the Department of Justice under both the Bush and Obama administrations decided against further prosecution of CARE leaders. UAE designated CARE as a terrorist group in 2014, and they are a Muslim nation. Now, there have been past efforts to get these guys designated. Senator Ted Cruz, pushed a Muslim Brotherhood terrorist designation bill on a number of occasions. In 2025, Representatives Mario Diaz-Balart of Florida and Jared Moskowitz of Florida reintroduced similar legislation, and Texas Republicans passed 2025 resolutions against CARE. Now, Governor DeSantis has restricted CARE state access. So these orders in Texas and Florida treat Muslim Brotherhood and care as criminal entities. It has enabled asset freezes and enhanced prosecutions. I hope they do this before they pay their lawyers. In Florida, that allows subpoenas for CARE's bank records, their financial documents, and internal files to probe funding and ties. And because they're suing, they have opened themselves up to additional discovery. We will get access to everything. So these lawsuits plan to test state powers over federal terrorism policy, and it may potentially set national precedents. We'll see how it goes. Now, let me say thank you to, oh, hold on, I need to expand this right here. Let me say thank you to Heaven Taste, who says, "Hi, Zach. Check out Brian Coyne parodies on YouTube. Great stuff." Okay. Thank you very much for dropping that. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Hold on. Let me open this up real quick, and then I can add it to my watch list.
I got a message to the millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's releasing our country. You better start packing now.
I like it. I like it. Listen, I'm going to save this for the end of the show. We will go out on this wicked mix. All right. Now, before we continue, I have a very brief message from our friends over here on Rumble. And I have asked you guys this question on a number of occasions, but Christmas is coming up, and I need to ask again. What do you give someone who already has everything? The dad with all the tools, all of the toys, everything that he could ever possibly want. Very difficult to purchase for. But I'll tell you what you can give him. You give him the sound of a perfect sear. To do so, you got to head on over to mychicagosteak.com/rumble. The code is Rumble. And when you use that code, you're going to get everything that the Chicago Steak Company has to offer. We're talking the top 2% of beef in America. USDA Prime and Premium Angus, hand-cut by master butchers, the kind of marbling that hits a hot pan and fills the entire house with that perfect smell, that buttery meat goodness. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, here's where the code comes in. If you spend $229 on any holiday order, your gift is going to arrive at your loved one's door with 6 free petite ribeyes, and you're also going to get free shipping. So that is $240 in free premium steak. Absolutely 100% free. Then you've got the unboxing experience, a black and gold gift box that is worth unwrapping, packed in dry ice. You pull open that box and the smoke rolls out when they crack it open. It's like Christmas morning energy, but you know, maybe they're going to open it before Christmas. Maybe they wait till Christmas to get it, but either way, you want to do it before that dry ice melts. It is not just another sweater. It's dinner that becomes a memory. So visit mychicagosteak.com/rumble. And that code is RUMBLE. You can use the QR code right there. Free shipping and 6 ribeyes when you spend $229 on the perfect gift for the man in your life. Thank you very much to My Chicago Steak. Thank you very much for the Rumble opportunity. Now, let us continue, because this is the big story of the day. And I see that some people are perhaps they don't believe that this is going to happen. Maybe they're just a little bit hesitant to bite that worm. But President Trump spoke about Ilhan Omar last night as well, and the crowd went wild. Let's take a listen.
Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise.
Hold on. Let me actually turn this up. I want to make sure that the audio is nice and loud for President Trump. We're going to go to 6 decibels. Maybe 10. How's 10? That'll be good. Okay. Listen to President Trump. Do we have any Somalians in the audience?
Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's for Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam, with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban.
The little turban.
I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing, they have no police. They police themselves, they kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country And she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
Kick her out. Kick her out. Can send her back.
So now, and we have our savior in this room. His name is Secretary.
He's talking about Secretary Scott Bessent there. But what does he mean? What does he mean? Well, Ilhan Omar immediately, she was watching live. She immediately replied and said, Trump's obsession with me is beyond weird. No, it's perfectly logical because you're a usurper. You're here illegally and you don't like America. Your affiliation is not with America. It's to Somalia. She says he needs serious help since he has no economic policies to tout. What, bitch? Are you watching the same movie I am? Because the economic policies that President Trump is touting have actually been pretty awesome. Way better than anything Democrats have done, and certainly anything better than you've done in Little Mogadishu in Minneapolis in Minnesota. He's resorting to regurgitating bigoted lines instead. It's not bigoted to say you married your brother because you married your brother. Your brother lover, he continues to be a national embarrassment. Well, immediately, the White House replied and said, Ilhan, why did you marry your brother? Why did you marry your brother, Ilhan? And then they also replied with another Franklin story. Franklin throws up in his mouth a little because the headline is Ilhan Omar married her brother. Well, guess what? Tom Homan, the border czar, has just admitted that he is currently looking into the allegations that Somali refugee Ilhan Omar married her brother to help him gain residency to the United States. This is already being proven, fam. President Trump brought it up. Tom Homan is also talking about it. He appeared on Face the Nation Sunday, but he was not asked about the allegation of immigration fraud. He then went on Newsmax to speak with Rob Schmidt, who did ask about President Trump's comments and whether or not there was an investigation into Omar. Let's take a listen to Tom Homan discuss it because he is fairly pointed about it.
The border czar, Tom Homan, joined.
Hold on, I gotta turn this down now because, of course, this audio is much louder. Okay. Border czar, Tom Homan.
Us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Snowcat Operator, for the gifted membership. Appreciate you.
Talk about Minnesota as well as a number of other issues. And, sir, it's good to have you back on the show. Trump mentioning the Daily Mail reporting from 2020 that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into the country. This was last week. Take a listen.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud.
Calls that a fraud. It's a story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story. That's clearly a deportable offense. Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitation became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who run DOJ? So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down this week, matter of fact, and we'll see.
It's tremendous that, I mean, and according to the Secretary, Kristi Noem of DHS, she said nearly 50% of the visas are fraudulent in this community. I mean, that would mean that half the Somali refugees are here in some way illegally. What's going to happen? Is something actually going to happen? Are there going to be people stripped of their visas, deported? Are we going to see that?
Absolutely. I mean, those days are over. Thank God President Trump's in the White House. We're going to look at all of them. I mean, we're going to look at those here illegally, of course. We're going to look at those here under a visa or some sort of, immigration process that are criminals. We're going to look at the national security threats. But those who came through a process that weren't properly vetted, who didn't provide documentation, who slipped through the Biden's weak processes on, giving visas and temporary, whether student visas or visitors visas or whatever. We're going the whole gamut. President Trump has instructed us go down.
Now, there is one thing that Tom Homan said there that I can imagine people probably said, of course, the statute of limitations, she's going to get off, nothing's going to happen to her. Well, guess what, guys? There is no statute of limitations on crimes related to immigration. So that means that even if you committed immigration fraud decades ago, you can still be prosecuted and you can still be denaturalized and you can still be deported. So it doesn't matter that Ilhan Omar married her brother several years ago. Doesn't matter that it's been more than 5 years. There is no statute of limitations. All right. So Ilhan Omar is now being investigated. The evidence was given to Tom Homan. He is the border czar. And I guarantee you, I believe that Ilhan Omar will be stripped of her Senate seat and she will be deported back to Somalia along with her brother. Now, here we actually have video of what that may look like. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here is President Trump and J.D. Vance and Ilhan Omar taking a quick trip back to Somalia.
Omar phone home.
I don't know what's happening.
Back home with you. The only problem is that when she gets back to Somalia, they might remember that her family was the ruling junta for like 20 years and they were responsible for the murder of hundreds of thousands of Somalians. Let me see. Lee Walden, Zach, you missed the song Bad Boys. I know your back hurts still. What do you mean, missed the song Bad? Did somebody post the song Bad Boys? I didn't see it in here. But yes, thank you very much. Q Patriot Angel also says, thanks for rating us over to Brad and Abby last night. Rise Attire was there speaking about the new doc and the works of Dauntless. Yes, you guys, you should definitely get a subscription to Dauntless Dialogue. You can use the code RedPill78 to get a discount on it, and you'll be able to see everything that Rise Attire has been producing for them and all of the incredible documentaries that they've done. Definitely recommend it if you are looking for a streaming service that has real information instead of propaganda. And I still need to watch Adrian's latest episode. Haven't had a chance to yet. But Lee, you're going to have to tell me specifically what you mean. I missed. Are you saying that I should have played the song Bad Boys, or did somebody drop Bad Boys into the chat and I missed it? Because I don't see anything here in the chats. All right. Now, a Somali college student has been busted posting on social media telling ICE agents that you're going to get popped the next time I see you. He has been identified as Hassan Mohammed. He posted a profanity-filled rant against U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement, and he threatened to pop the agents the next time they show up in his Awatana neighborhood. Let's go ahead and watch the video. As I said, he's been identified, and now he's probably going to be on a short trip back to Somalia.
I actually heard you guys pulled up to Owatonna, the Big O, and you pulled up when I was not there? Oh, so puss-ass shit, boy. You gonna get popped next time I see you ass. Bring the whole cavalry. Yeah, boy, you guys are scared. Scared of the stingray, baby. Woo!
Ain't nobody scared of this 5-head Somali pirate-looking mother effer. I'm the captain now. He wants people to believe that ICE is somehow making decisions about raiding his neighborhood based upon whether or not this scrawny little TikTok influencer is there or not.
He tried to walk back the statements, obviously, once he started getting attention. He said he was just trying to be funny. After his clip sparked widespread backlash, Mohammed posted a handful of follow-up videos Tuesday apologizing for his lapse in judgment. I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm just here to apologize. I truly did not mean what I said. I was just trying to be funny. Well, despite his threats, ICE has increased actions in Minneapolis as part of their Operation Metro Surge in the Twin Cities. Last week, the Department of Homeland Security announced in just days, ICE has arrested vicious criminals who were allowed to roam Minneapolis streets thanks to sanctuary policies, arresting some of the worst criminal illegal aliens, including child sex offenders, domestic abusers, and violent gang members. Democrats, this is what you support. Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin noted that sanctuary policies and politicians like Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey allowed these pedophiles, domestic terrorists, and gang members to roam the streets and terrorize Americans. Remember that time that a Somali cop shot a woman who called 911, called the police to their home, and he shows up in the alleyway and he shoots her to death? Nothing happened to that guy. While Democrats complain about efforts to make America safer and foment increased threats against ICE agents and the president, the agency continues its work, noting on X that Minnesota's weather is cloudy with a 100% chance of ice. Gotcha. Thank you very much to Filter Dog. He says, studies show that statins will add 2 weeks to your life. Not worth the risk. Does it, but those studies are put on by the very pharmaceutical companies that produce the statins. They may increase the amount of time that you spend on Earth, but they will also lower your cognitive ability. Now, here is an example of the type of people that are protected by Democrat policies. Gavin Newsom's California gave a driver's license to an illegal alien MS-13 gang leader who was wanted for a quadruple homicide in Honduras. His name is Gerson Amir Quadra Soto, 33 years old, MS-13 gang leader, part of a professional assassination squad for MS-13. He came to the U.S. illegally under the Biden regime after being charged in Honduras in 2022 with firearms offenses tied to a quadruple homicide. Quadra Soto and 2 other co-defendants allegedly bribed their way out of jail. He crossed from Mexico into Texas and later was able to gain a California driver's license, which used his real identity because he's not particularly intelligent. He's now being arrested in Grand Island and he's facing federal charges. There he is. Now he is off the streets. Gotta love it. All right. Now, I mentioned this yesterday, but pipe bomb suspect from January 5th, Brian Cole of Woodbridge, Virginia, has been found to have the same types of same sexual predilections that we've seen in other recent left-wing acts of terror. Not only is he an autistic recluse and a computer nerd and not an election denier and not a supporter of President Trump, he is, in fact, obsessed with toys that are marketed at young girls. He creates art of My Little Ponies. He's what you might call a brony. He remixes songs about My Little Pony. He writes fan fiction dedicated to My Little Pony. His works are actually spread across various social media accounts that are linked to Cole's email address and phone number. And he's posting as iDelta Velocity. He uploaded 87 pictures of My Little Pony fan art to a forum showing various pony and unicorn characters. One of them is depicted with a bionic leg brace and appears to favor pink or purple ponies with long multicolored manes. In one post, a Star Wars-inspired pony says in a speech bubble, "I'm not cute, I'm deadly," which Cole says is a line from the video game Star Wars: The Old Republic. He's also got a Tumblr account. That is a surefire bet on left-wing extremism right there. That's also focused on My Little Pony art, where he uses the username, he used one of these usernames, and he commented on a drawing of a pony with an M60 machine gun, writing, I'd give her an RPG. What can I say? Explosions are cool. Isn't that interesting? Explosions are cool. Let's see. Do they feature any of his brony art? Yes, there it is right now. There's his brony art. Anyways, that's the typical kind of sick garbage that you expect to see. All right. Now, also good news coming out of the Department of Justice. Yesterday, they issued a sweeping final rule which eliminated all disparate impact liability from Title VI regulations. This is a restoration of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It brings it back to its original meaning, and it dismantles one of the left's most powerful tools for race-based social engineering. Under the old rule, plaintiffs could challenge policies that were race-neutral on their face if these policies resulted in statistically different outcomes among racial groups. There was no proof of intentional discrimination that would be required. All that you would have to show was simply that the same number of people were not getting jobs. So that would be enough to trigger federal scrutiny or litigation. So now the DOJ is ending that standard, and going forward, Title VI cases handled by the department will require evidence of intentional discrimination, not just statistical disparities. Officials argue that the disparate impact model pressured schools, agencies, and businesses into making decisions based on race to avoid lawsuits, which effectively encouraged quotas for decision-making. This decision follows President Trump's executive order from April 23rd of this year, restoring equal opportunity and meritocracy, which directed all federal agencies to eliminate the use of disparate impact liability in all contexts to the maximum degree possible to avoid violating the Constitution, federal civil rights, and basic American ideals. So good news, because now we're not going to have to worry about people getting sued for not hiring more of an individual class. Okay, so he says, I requested that you add the jingle Bad Boys to your sound. Oh, you're right, dude. I totally forgot. Do you know Dick Hertz from Holden, Mass? I do not know Dick Hertz from Holden, Mass. Hold on. Let me here. I'm gonna real quick look up Bad Boys so that I have it here to download later. Okay, got it. All right. And I already mentioned this story earlier in the show, so I don't need to talk about that again. And we will go ahead, as I promised, finish this song real quick. Here we go.
And I say bye-bye legal, c'est la vie, bye-bye legal, cause me, got the solution. Crime keeps on slipping, bye-bye legal. Go back to your home country, and I said bye-bye legal. Leave us be. Time for your retribution. Slipping over the water. Crab keeps on slipping over the border.
Bye-bye. I'll share the link in a second, guys. Oh my gosh. Bye-bye.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
All right, let me share the link so you guys can go subscribe to this guy. I'm Brian Coin Parodies. All right, I am now subscribed. There we go. Here is the link. I'm dropping it on all chats right now. And there we go. All right, before I read the final thank yous from the audience, one more word from our friends over here on Rumble. All right, you guys, parents, let's talk about something really important. At a time when truth, faith, and free speech are all under attack, there was one leader who stood up and said, "Prove me wrong." That leader was Charlie Kirk, and his message inspired an entire generation. And it's why the Kids Guide team created the Kids Guide to Charlie Kirk to help you share the values he lived by: faith, family, independent thinking, and the courage to stand for truth. He wasn't afraid to say what others were scared to say out loud. His message was simple: don't silence people, debate them, prove me wrong. And that spirit of open conversation and respect is something our country desperately needs again. Inside the Kids Guide to Charlie Kirk, your kids will follow Charlie's growing up in a Christian household. They'll learn how he spoke as a teenager, challenged one-sided narratives in school, and launched Turning Point USA from a single card table on a college campus, eventually inspiring millions nationwide. So the Kids Guide to Charlie Kirk presents Charlie not as a flawless figure, but as someone who believed deeply in conversation, critical thinking, and the idea that Americans have far more in common than what divides us. If you want your kids to grow up with strong, unwavering values, start with the Kids Guide to Charlie Kirk by visiting charliekidsguide.com to order your copy today and give your children the truth and a role model who lived it. That's charliekidsguide.com, or you can use that QR code you see on screen. All right. So the next thank you from over here on Pilled is Good Dog. Thank you very much for the can. Thank you also, Red Gun, for 111 gold pills. Thank you to Filter Dog, who says President Trump is cutting the funding arteries in Venezuela more than drugs. You are correct, sir. Judy the Ladybug, thank you for the cookie. Good Dog, thank you for the can. And a boneless chicken, thank you for the shades. All right, you guys, I'll be live at 9 p.m. on Badlands Media for Altered State. Brad, I believe his power is still out, so I don't know if he's going to be with me or if somebody else is going to be, but either way, I will see you there. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Good luck. God bless. If I don't see you tonight, be here tomorrow at 5 p.m. for another episode of Red Pill News Live. Peace.
murdered. I've really tried not to comment on the murder investigation.
Opinion and a job, but I was fired for doing just that. I'm Monica Meeks. I served for over 20 years in the United States Army, and I'm a lifelong public servant. Now I'm being denied the very rights I fought for. When I'm off the clock, I like to debate politics with the battle buddies I served with. After the murder of Charlie Kirk this fall, I had a debate with a conservative battle buddy on Facebook. I told him I thought Charlie Kirk promoted white supremacy. Hey, you don't have to agree with me. He certainly didn't. But this is how debates are supposed to work in this country. Two people from different perspectives.
You sacks of shit don't look like you can play T-ball.
Oh my God.
Gutierrez. What the hell have you been eating, Gutierrez? If your fat ass holds us up for even 1 second, I'm sending your ass back to Okinawa faster than you can say chuba me chimichurri. Sir, yes, sir.
That is.
Steinberg. You're the first of your kind in my platoon. Steinberg. You got a problem with that? Sir, no, sir. Fall back. And keep that nose tucked in before it gets caught in a tripwire.
You know we have to transfer schools, right?
Of course. Jamal! Reggie! Put your reefer out and turn off your Motown Boogie Beats. What the hell were you two clowns doing? Oh, you know, Lieutenant. Just getting a little downtime. Are you two ever not relaxing?
I'm gonna go.
It's part of our culture, sir. We love to dance or just sit around.
Lazy.
Thank you for guiding us to be more than just a couple of Division III basketball players with no real shot at the pros. You fellas
Isn't it interesting how recent they used it in the Vietnam era? Democrats used it there, and Republicans used the FBI to spy on 100 different groups in this country, including the churches. You know, most of our history we didn't have those institutions. The FBI came in during the First World War, and interestingly enough, one thing that Woodrow Wilson did, he used the FBI to spy on American citizens and actually arrest them if they disagreed with his foreign policy about going to war in Europe. And isn't it interesting how recent they used it in the Vietnam era? Democrats used it there, and Republicans used the FBI to spy on 100 different groups in this country, including the churches, who disagree with the policy in Central America. It almost looks like the FBI was designed to spy on Americans who might be disagreeing with policy, especially the foreign policy. So the FBI, although I don't think I can condemn everything they've ever done, because I'm sure some of the investigations and investigation of crime has been beneficial, but that could be accomplished through Justice Department within our states. We wouldn't reject that portion of it. But I think the FBI has kept and continues to keep a
going up, and let it be much, much bigger, much, much better. And, you know, growth doesn't mean inflation. They're always afraid that, oh, we have, and if there is inflation, that's okay, then we can slow it down. But we should be able to do a lot better than 3 and 4. We're scheduled to be at 4%, which is pretty amazing because we have a you know, deadhead Fed hair. I mean, this guy, the head of the Federal Reserve is a stiff. And, you know, you fight that. It's amazing. We fight that, and yet interest rates are going down, except with him, not too much. He did a rather, I would say, a rather small number that could have been doubled, at least doubled. And that's the other thing. I think the rates for the United States are always the lowest in the world, because without us, there is no world. Without this economy, there's no world. You know, you could go to some of these wonderful countries that you think are so great. Well, one of the reasons they're great is because we allow